Hey, what's up? This is episode 25 of the Throwaway Days podcast. I'm Cody Jones, and this is my podcast. This episode we have on Spoken Nerd. Spoken Nerd is a rapper from Nashville, Tennessee, who's been doing it forever. I guess 2003 was when he started being Spoken Nerd and kind of started connecting all the dots on the indie rap map. He's an OG, kind of. And it's the first time I ever met him face to face. We had been friends online, but me opening for him in Philly a few weeks ago was the first time we actually met in person. So that was cool. I played that show with him. He came back and crashed with me. We ate Philly cheesesteak hoagies, which were kind of underwhelming. And then we did this interview super late at night. Super late for us. It was probably only like 1 or 2, but we're babies. But yeah, it was cool to get to talk to Nerd. Just because he's been around forever and just he's learned a lot. And it was cool to pry a couple little secrets from him. The interview I think is good. The levels peak a little bit at first, but then they level out, so sorry about that. He talks about everything from, I don't even know, he used to smoke weed and like not spit positive raps because he's such like a positive person now. But I guess like around 2003 when he switched his focus to be like spoken nerds, to be spoken nerd, he made like a decision. He was going to quit smoking weed. He was going to do like more positive raps. He got super religious at the time. So we talked a little bit about that. He talks about touring. He's been touring forever. And, just like little things he picked up on that along the way. I don't know, it's a cool conversation, and I'm pumped to have finally met him, and not only met him, but like had this extended conversation with him. He's a great entertainer as well, like he takes it very seriously, which is something we talk about, but he's like, yeah, even if there's only 5 people there, it's my duty to entertain them, which I can really respect. So if you ever get a chance to see Spoken Nerd in your town, you should just go, even if you think it's not going to be a huge show, because he'll kill it. And he's super positive, and I'll talk to you all night. Before we get into... Oh yeah, we're going to play a single I got off of him, a 7-inch with Spoken Nerd and Sean Michael? I don't know, I can't read. But it's a track Big Beards, and it has like some Chesky on the hook. It's actually the only physical media I own from Spoken Nerd, so that's why I'm going to play that one at the end. But, yeah, what's up with me? I got some shows coming up. Cody Cody Jones, your boy, your pal, your frog, whatever. I'm doing another 4 to the Floor tour with I Alive. Tuesday, October 3rd, we're going to be starting it in Philadelphia at Kung Fu Necktie. We're playing with Mike Lanny and some other locals. Thursday, October 5th, we'll be in New York City, I think more specifically Williamsburg, maybe, at Muchmore's, playing with the homie Blastmaster Baker, Dunce Cap, and some other New York heads. Friday, October 6th, we'll be in Ithaca at the Nines. This will be my first time in Ithaca. We're playing with Chef Full, Whack Genius, and one other person. Saturday, October 7th, we're playing some fest that's south of Buffalo. I don't have all the details from it, but it sounds pretty cool. But you could never find it with what I just told you, so you're gonna have to take my word for it. But yeah, I got some shows coming up, some music I'm always slowly working on, and the podcast that I'm not working on enough. I always forget how much I enjoy it between episodes. We got Spoken Nerd this episode. Tomorrow night, I'm going to interview K-Death of Moody Black, if all goes well, so that will be the next episode. If you like the podcast, subscribe, tell someone. I don't know how this works. Follow it on social media. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to reach new people. I feel like I kind of plateaued. I might gain a couple fans each, or listeners. Might gain a couple listeners each episode, but it's tough. I really don't know how to like reach out to new listeners and get a bigger audience, because I feel like the artists I have on deserve it. But so if you're listening and you like this stuff, help me out. Share it a little bit. I don't know, or don't. It doesn't really matter. I'm not gonna stop doing it if you don't. But yeah, that's up with me with music. I'm working on some podcasts. Internet Skateboards is still doing the same thing, skating, trying to slang some boards. And yeah, we're going to keep this intro short, and here's the interview with Spoken Nerd. All right, thanks for checking it out.
Are we recording already?
It's on, but this is just to get levels.
I'm in a hurry to get things done. Oh, I rush and rush until life's no fun.
You think I don't know? I know.
That's what I'm talking about. We made the mistake of listening to the Florida-Georgia line version of it on our way back from Philly cheesesteak.
Really?
Yeah, it's so bad. It wrecked it. It's going to be hard for me to erase that.
All right. So we're here. You're Spoken Nerd.
That's right.
We just played a show at the pharmacy.
It was amazing. It's an
Sold out
amazing
crowd.
time.
You're from Nashville. Are you originally from Nashville?
No, I'm not actually. I grew up in a town called Lawrenceburg, Tennessee.
Okay.
Small town in Tennessee in the sticks. My parents moved there from Illinois when I was 5.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I've been in Nashville for well over 10 years now, so yeah. I could call myself a native officially.
Yeah. Is that like where you got your like chops making music and shit too?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, I was in bands in high school and, beyond. So I've kind of had it in my past a lot, but Nashville is where I definitely got sharpened up.
Yeah.
It was like training camp.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that movie Training Day. Did you ever see that?
King Kong ain't got shit on you, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I saw that one. Come on, man.
Training Day, man. That's a great movie.
You've been doing this for a while. Has it only been 10 years? Or, I feel like you've been, rapping for longer than that. Really?
Yeah, I've been rapping, I just turned 37 today. As we know, that's my birthday.
Yeah,
Thank
right.
you. So I've been rapping since I was about 17, so this is 20 years I've been doing this. As far as the Spoken Nerd Project, it's been around since around 2003 was when that really kind of took off for me. So a little less.
What was it before then?
Well, before then I just had a high school band, and I had a band right out of high school. I started with something called Verbal Keef, where I played bass and we had a rapper, and I kind of did some background vocals in it.
Yeah, you're like, yo, I'm better. I'm better than this dude.
Right. Well, no, I wasn't better than him. He was pretty good. And what happened was he quit the band, and we started a new band called the After Hours Hip Hop Project. Okay. And I really didn't rap much in Verbal Keef. I was more of a bass player and kind of a hype man. And when we started the After Hours Hip Hop Project, the other MC in it was good, but he didn't have quite the gift of gab the guy before had, so they relied on me a little bit more to rap. And then I sharpened up from that group. That's where I became more of a rapper and a front man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask. So tonight you played guitar and stuff, which
yes.
I didn't know you did. And
Mm-hmm.
then, I was gonna ask if that was a new thing, but you played bass way back then too. So you've been doing You're not like other rappers where it's I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. I guess I'll just pick up this mic and not play an instrument.
Right.
You can actually play things.
Yeah, I've always played songs. I've always played guitar and written songs and stuff. So, yeah. I mean, these are, for me, it's all music, and I've never been a virtuoso at guitar. In fact, the part of the reason I started rapping is because I wanted to make music that was a little more intense,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to do something that I could also do on my own. So something that was high energy and something where I didn't have to rely on other people. And I never felt like I was an acoustic guitar and singing guy necessarily, but it's kind of funny because I do so much of that now as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But it gives the set a good breakup, and I have another band called State Parks, so I can also play those songs.
Okay, I know you.
Yeah. So State Parks is kind of my indie rock project. I would write these songs for Spoken Nerd, and when we were putting them on the album, albums, we were making decisions like, okay, this only...
Who is we?
Myself and the producers that I work with. The producer I worked with on the last several Spoken Nerd records is a guy named Joel McNulty. He's in a group. He actually produced Ross's Rap and Destroy.
Yeah.
And he's done some of his beats. Shout outs to Kid Dead. But yeah, he also goes by the Phantom Farmer. So we would kind of put we'd be like, okay, this makes sense with the rap album if we put a lot of keyboards in it and things like that. And there's a certain point where I was writing songs where I thought, I really don't want all that in this. I want this to sound like a rock and roll band. So I just started a whole nother project for that reason. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it kind of works to orient it with both, but that's kind of the deal with that.
Yeah. That's tight. You have like a crossover. So like we mentioned earlier, both these names came up tonight, like Chesky, who also does like an acoustic thing to say the least. Mm-hmm. And then Swordplay too, who did like a lot of acoustic stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's just crazy to see like, oh yeah, these like indie rappers who like do this other, like, it's like, oh yeah, you can write a song and shit too. That's tight.
Right. Well, to me, that's kind of part of indie rap is just being able to really write a song. I mean, even if it's a rap song, it's still very much a song. And so there's structure, there's hooks, and there's, and no offense toward guys that just spit verses. I mean, I can listen to the Wu-Tang Clan rap verses all day and love it. But, but there's also a difference between like listening to Dave Brubeck and listening to the Lounge Lizards if we're talking about jazz,
right.
Or listening to, Fish or listening to Radiohead, I feel like that's kind of like the kind of free form, just versey sort of stuff's almost like the jam bands of rap,
Yeah.
And like where I have an appreciation for that, I also love it when you can take someone who can really craft a song and really craft an album. And I feel like Chesky and Swordplay have done both of those things very well.
Yeah, it's like an emotional roller coaster. Like,
right.
It's not just like this dude is like meat and potatoes, straight bars. It's like, holy shit, like ups and downs. And...
Or even, hey, this is my song about how I'm back. Okay, this is the song about the girl. This is the song, it's like, wow, these songs have a lot of momentum and meaning and, just like you're saying, a roller coaster, which is cool.
That is cool. So you started, I'm trying to think, 20 years ago is when you started rapping, and maybe like you said, what was it, 03 was when you like started the nerd thing, Spoken Nerd?
Yeah, so when I started Spoken Nerd, I pretty much, my group had broken up. I'd also had some pretty big lifestyle changes,
What do you mean?
Well, I had quit smoking pot and became very religious, and through that, and quit drinking as well, and like, I pretty much just started this thing from scratch. It was like all of a sudden, I was gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna be a guy that doesn't curse, and I'm gonna be very clean with my rap music, and it was like starting over again. Because all the things that I kind of relied on were gone,
Smoking that damn weed.
Right. Well, I just didn't, because there's something about catching a buzz that kind of puts your brain into that state. So I had to learn how to find that state naturally.
Yeah.
And that took some time. I mean,
it
really did. I mean, my first Spoken Nerd EP, which we're talking 2003, so to have a recording, to have your music on a CD was a really big deal back then.
Yeah, it was like a milestone.
Huge deal. I mean, I remember people just being impressed that it was a CD. I mean, forget the fact that was like terrible.
That was like in the era of like MP3.com, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
before
totally.
MySpace even.
Yeah, because I remember that was around the time I was downloading music off of Kazaa. Kaza.
Yeah.
And, and mostly I did support bands by buying their CDs, but a lot of the stuff, honestly, you just couldn't find.
Yeah.
You couldn't find anywhere. And then suddenly, I would type in the name of an artist. Like, somehow I discovered Soul from Anticon, or at the time was with Anticon. And it's funny because there was actually a Christian hip hop group I listened to called Furthermore, who I still love, make great music, but a soul song called Furthermore came up.
Is that how you found him?
That's how I found him. I actually downloaded this song called Furthermore. And I listened to it, and in the beginning, I thought it was Furthermore. I thought, man, their new stuff is so different.
Yeah.
And then I realized quickly, I was like, oh no, this is a different guy. And I started looking. So immediately, I'm like, Soul's amazing. Like, this is like nothing I've heard before. It's not hippie rap, it's conscious rap, but it's pushing every boundary. So I started looking it up. I started, Googling anything he did, and then I would find like, tracks that he did with like Slug, and then so I started looking up Slug stuff, and then I would find tracks that he did with people, and then suddenly this kind of early 2000s underground hip hop totally became life to me, and it was like, man, there's so much stuff out here, and I love all of this stuff.
That's awesome, dude. That's like similar to me. I think my gateway was like Atmosphere, and then Sage, and then Soul. Like right up there. I was like, well, who have they? 8am? Cool, I'll check him out. 6'2", okay, here I go.
Yeah.
I feel like it sent me in like a really weird, unrelatable wormhole until now, really. It's like, I couldn't hang out with like kids at my school and talk about like this new like Buck 65 track.
Right.
It was like just like random shit I found on like weird pockets of the internet.
Yeah, and isn't it insane now to turn on like the Tonight Show and see Run the Jewels?
Yeah.
I mean, the LP was like totally in that world, and to find his music, you had to know someone at a record store, and I grew up in a very small town, so our record store, basically, we were lucky if we got KRS-One, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just amazing it's amazing to see how far some of this has come,
For sure, man. Yeah. That's crazy. Alright, so this is crazy. So you started the Spoken Nerd thing in 2003, and then I stumbled across this track that you're on Spotify from, I think it was Johnny LaRock's Necker Cube,
yes,
which was like around that era, right?
Right. That
was. And it was with like MC Homeless, Swordplay, P.T. Burnham,
and Bobby Exodus.
I don't know who that is.
Bobby Exodus is one of my homies back in Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah. So we booked them a show in Nashville. Like, first of all, they came through Nashville. Swordplay did on another tour, and I went out and saw him, and I was just blown away by him. I traded discs with him, and yeah, we stayed in touch. So he wanted to come back through, so he had MC Homeless and P.T. Burnham with him.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, these guys are all cool. This is kind of a cool thing they've got going on. So I actually said, hey, you guys want to come down to the studio? So we drove to the studio, and my producer and I put that song together. I played the bass line to it, kind of crafted that. And a guy named Rick Saxby that I used to work with. And yeah, we put together the beat for it. And then, Isaac, Swordplay, just wanted to do a hook.
Yeah, which is the catchiest thing ever.
Such a nice hook, yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody just did a verse, yeah.
Yeah, and that stands out to me, because to me, those dudes were the indie rappers before my generation,
Right.
I've done some indie rap tours or whatever, but whenever I first started, I was like, holy shit, I want to play with these guys. These guys are doing the damn thing on their own,
Totally.
So then I'm and then I saw that, I was like, holy shit, Nerd's been doing this forever.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, my first tour, actually, one of my first tours was in 2007.
Okay.
And it was myself, a guy named Kurz, and a guy named Bobby Exodus. And I remember going to MC Homeless's town.
Youngstown
at the time,
or Kent?
No, actually He was at the time. He
Oh,
was
he was
living
in
in
Greenville,
North Carolina, and Davey from the Dreadnoughts lived with him.
Yeah.
And I remember Davey had this room where there was nothing in the room except for Davey. I don't even. He might have had a mattress for himself, but the house was kind of wild. So I slept in Davey's room every night, and we just kind of like sat and talked about everything. So it was kind of funny because years later, I kind of loosely kept in touch with Davey online.
Yeah.
And then years later, like, when I started kind of working with Chesky, or just, became friends with Chesky, something came up about Davey. I don't know how.
Davey he's like this secret backbone in your rap. Like, I interviewed him.
Yeah.
Like, he's been part of the whole thing.
Yeah, and Dreadnoughts are absolutely amazing. What a great band.
Yeah.
What a great group. I mean, yeah. So influential, like with basically, it's funny how many groups are so influential to things with no one knowing that. You know what I mean? Like, there's a guy that used to be in Nashville, a guy named 247.
Okay.
He has or 24/7. He has a group called Out of Place, and he has launched so much hip hop in our city.
Yeah.
But it's like I feel like if there should be an award. First of all, there's no award for that. But if there was an award for that, he launched me. He launched the group Inquiring Minds, like so many other groups.
Yeah.
And just been a real servant to the hip hop scene in Nashville. He's in Austin now, actually. So I'm sure he's doing amazing things there as well.
That's cool, man. That's
awesome. Davey's kind of the same,
Yeah, he was just like a part of everything.
Yeah.
Like, oh wait, you were there that night? Like, you have this like whack weirdo like quote unquote battle with Babelfish? Like, what is this?
Right.
Just like all this strange stuff. That's cool though. So 2007 was your first tour though?
2005 was maybe my first tour.
Okay.
Yeah, or maybe even a little before then, but I moved to Nashville. So I was working in Florence, Alabama as a teacher's assistant. So I worked actually at the Board of Education, and I had a great job, great community of teachers that I worked with, but I didn't have a music community there. And I started coming to Nashville, and immediately was, kind of immersed in hip hop culture, which was exactly what I needed at the time, because, I just wasn't there yet. And so I moved to Nashville, and the way teachers, even assistants, are paid is they're paid throughout the summer, and I did a tour with a friend of mine that I met online, and was kind of doing a similar thing. And it was we were absolutely dumb and had sort of a nightmare tour. So we did this tour where we were making these just enormous drives. I mean, we were like, we got to cover as much of the U.S. as we can on this one.
Yeah.
And I think everyone makes that mistake at first, but man, we were just driving like, I think our first show was in Wisconsin, and then we were off to Minneapolis, and then it was like Oregon,
Jeez.
Yeah, we just didn't know what we were doing. We were literally booking even on the way. And so that was my first tour experience. And then I was actually just scared to go back out because of how
like, this is terrible.
Yeah, I was like, this is terrible. And around 2007, I met a fellow named Kevin Clay who asked me to join up with kind of a label imprint he had called Monkaphonic.
Okay.
Or it was kind of an affiliate of Monk Rock. And, he was very much a big influence on how I market and like, just how I do different things. And one of the first things he says, dude, you got to tour. He goes, if you want this to do anything, you got, you can't not tour. That's all there is to it. And it kind of gave me the confidence to put together that 2007 tour that I did. And I did, and that one was sort of bad too, but we got through it. And and since then, really the person who taught me how to tour like correctly was Dan Smith from Listener.
Oh yeah,
hands down. Like he's really smart. He has the touring down to a science.
Tell me, like, what is the correct way to tour?
Well, and these are just sort of common sense things, but a couple.
I'm sure, like,
a couple
once you
things,
see them, they're like, oh, boy.
The big thing is, first of all, first of all, I'm still learning now. I'm learning more every day. But, the big thing that I learned from Dan was, don't book your shows so far away from each other. Don't just forsake these small towns, in other words. Like, because we would play like, so a lot of smaller towns, and every day the drive was just 2 or 3 hours. And if you can make that work, it's always better. You spend less money. And, and then also, like, the planning ahead of, like, talk to your hosts ahead of time, figure out where you're going to stay, actually, have a lot of merch. And it really, the big thing with him that impresses me the most, even to this day, is just his relationships and his skills with, like, people. One thing that I'm very impressed about is that he never misses a set, or at least when I went out with him, he would never miss a set of an opener. Like, even if he absolutely was appalled by the opener's music, he would sit a chair right in front of the stage and he would just sit there and watch. And I think that's just so important. To actually, to make friendships,
be part of the show
and be part of it. Because let's face it, I mean, there's some nights where this thing is more like a club. You're throwing a party in someone's city, and if you throw a party at your house and 10 people show up, it's still a party. You still want to have a good time and enjoy those people. And those people came to your party. And so it's kind of like we're inviting ourselves over to a different city for a party, and then inviting folks, kind of in their own hospitality. So I think it's so there's a certain humility in that, and it's a very beautiful thing. But it's very important to see touring for what it is,
Yeah. Well, what has it been for you? What do you mean?
What do you mean for me? Like, what is touring?
What do you see touring as what it is? Like, what do you see touring as?
Well, I see it as sharing music with a community of people. I mean, it can be a number of things, but like I said, the first tour I ever did, one of the first things that hit me, because I used to always think it was, when I was a kid, I always thought, hey, I'm going to go out there, we'll stay in hotels every night, like, it's going to be this amazing, grandiose experience.
You got to have
for all those reasons.
Expectations.
In all honesty, I think if those, and I think those are realistic expectations at a certain point, but I think that, like, part of the beauty of doing this craft is being able to enjoy people, and it's very much about the people that are around you, and it's a job, like, no matter what, there's still going to be work involved, and there's still going to be a unity with people. So basically, like, your job is to, as a performer, your job is to give people the best live performance you can give them, and to give them an experience with your show, no matter what. No matter if, you don't like the way you were treated by the venue, or not enough people came, or the sound's bad. You have to, as a performer, like, it's my responsibility to say, hey, I invited these people over. Like, I invited these people to this venue to come see me, so I've got to make this the best I can for all those people.
Right.
And I think that's a big part of it. It's a hospitality as well as an art,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of always been my view of touring. And I mean, ultimately the goal is always to share the music with more people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think something in that like, dude, this is gonna make me sound like a dick, but like the thing that exhausts me most about touring is like trying to be personable.
Yeah.
It's like you meet people, you're like, hey, yeah, thanks for having us. Oh, cool, you guys are hanging out having beers? Like, cool, like, I love this thing. And it's like not quite like that, but it's just like, I'm like not a super social person, but I know I have to be while I'm like on the road and stuff, or else like I just seem like a total dick.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the night, I'm just like, man, I talked to like so many people tonight. I'm pooped, So that's always been tough for me.
Yeah, I think that and I talk to a lot of people that actually say that, and I have had nights where conversation was very exhausting to me for whatever reason. So I get it, I'm not like this alien that just like, hey, I love everybody.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I'm a very social creature, so so fortunately,
Yeah.
I've got that side of things kind of. I'm pretty decent with that side of things, I would think. But yeah, I understand. But I think a lot of it is, there's different ways to approach it. I mean, there's the scarcity principle. I saw an artist do a show recently, where you didn't see him before the show, at all.
Mm-hmm.
But he did a VIP thing where you paid extra, you came up, you got your picture taken with him, he talked to you for a couple minutes, and then you just move on. And I think that there's different ideas and different models for everyone, but I mean there are some artists that you have to find your own way and your own style of it. Because back when I used to drink a lot on tour, and I know I'm currently drinking a beer now, but I used to drink a lot. I'd start early before the show if there was beer available, and through the night, I'd have a few, and by the end of it, man, it was so exhausting. Like I would feel so heavy and so tired, and like and every morning was just starting out like, oh, time to hit the diner, and I was spending all this money,
Yeah.
and like that, so I had to say, okay, no beers before the show, and I just I can party with people a little bit, but not like I used to, because it wasn't smart, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily giving them the best me that I could give them. And I don't know, whatever you do, just think about like what can be the best version of you, and how can you share that with someone else. And I don't know, I feel like we've got the best version of you tonight, so.
Yeah. What?
Well, I feel like we've gotten the best version of you tonight.
Oh,
like
shit.
You're very nice at the show, and you've been great here, great host.
We'll see,
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Something I was gonna say is like, you're just like mad posse. It seems like, that's just like at the show tonight, you're like, it was a meager turnout,
Right.
But I know you kind of touched on this a minute ago, but you like didn't bat an eyelash. You're like, oh, awesome. Thanks for like, I'm gonna play this song for all you. And it wasn't like, I see cats like who are used to bigger shows, and they get a show that has like only 45 people, and they like say things on the mic about it, and are like just super corny, and you're like super appreciative of the whole thing, talking to everyone all night. Like you're a positive person, man.
Thank you. Well, one thing I always look at is like, I don't know when I'm going to be here in Philadelphia again. You know what I mean? It could be a year. It could be 2 years. I could die in 2 years. I don't know what's going to happen. And even though, like, maybe like 5 people, if there's 5 people in a room, that's still 5 people that I'm responsible for entertaining. And the fact of the matter is, like, you hear these stories about these guys that how they respond to that. Like, oh yeah, I saw so and so in a club and no one was there and he was just mad, pissed, and it was just a real bad night, right? And that's never a good look. But then you hear these other stories about, oh man, he came and there was no one there, so he just stood on top of the bar and broke out an acoustic guitar and he played this song that he never plays, and then he went and got ice cream with everybody, or whatever it is, And I want to leave people with that kind of experience rather than the first one.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, hey, I'm already there, like.
Yeah, let's get the ice cream, man. Yeah, I mean, they were hoagies, but
Yeah, they were hoagies, but
we did the damn thing.
We did. I ate a Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah.
Tonight.
Yeah, it was kind of overrated.
Yeah, so this will be my opportunity to be negative. It wasn't very good, but sometimes that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to tell you guys, but I ate there before, and I was like kind of underwhelmed about it. But I'm like, you know what? This is the spot people go. They want to go.
People like it.
I'm not gonna let them make their own judgments.
Hey, we gave it a shot. Hey, now we know.
Yeah. Let's see. Unrelated to everything we've been talking about, you're really into horror movies, and you collect VHS?
I do, actually, yes.
Yeah. MC Homeless told me that. Go figure. He loves that shit.
MC Homeless. He's into it, too.
Yeah. Is that like something you've always been into?
Yeah. Ever since I was a kid, I've always loved horror movies.
Really?
Yes. It's been my favorite thing, like, for so long, because, like, man, when you're like 12, 13 years old and you live in the country. And
oh my god, that's the last place I would. That's where they all take place.
That's where they all take place.
If I was like living.
Oh
in the States.
Man, my parents. Yeah, so that's how I grew up. And my parents would take me to the video store, and here I am, this little kid, and there's this section of movies, and all the boxes have zombies on the cover, and people turning into werewolves, and people hanging from meat hooks, and it was just like the coolest thing to me. And even now, like watching them, I feel like I'm like 13 years old again when I watch them every time. Never fails. They bring me a lot of joy. And it's not so much out of a cruelty. Like, I feel like horror movies are a trick. It's like, hey, their goal is to scare you. Most of the time they don't.
Yeah.
But even when they do or make you uncomfortable, it's like a game. Did they win the game?
Yeah.
Like, I love horror movies.
Are you like into any stuff that's like more current, or is it always kind of like older stuff?
Yes, I do like current stuff. I'm more into old stuff than I am new stuff. But before I had a girlfriend, I would go to see about every horror movie that came out in the theater.
You'd roll solo?
Oh yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. She's not as into them as I am.
I'm such a chick. I can't do that, man.
Yeah, I would go to see about everything, and I've got friends that I go see them with, but and I still do go to see some, but man, I do keep up with the current stuff, and I haven't been as good about it in the last couple of years, but I still keep my chops up.
That's cool, man. Is there like any way you would like to be involved with that at all? Like, if someone's like, hey, spoken nerd, can you like write this score, or even just like write this for someone else to perform, or is that like just completely out of your realm and just
I'd love it.
Question?
Yeah, I would totally be involved with that.
Yeah.
I've never seen myself as like an actor per se. But I do love to write. One of the, I run a label called Invisible Library, and one of the artists on our label has been in 2 horror films, a guy named Dale J. Gordon, and that just makes me so stoked. I love the soundtracks to them. I love, like, coming up with ideas for them. I don't know how to insert myself into it, but yeah, I am totally down with horror. In any way that I can be.
That's cool. Tell me about your label Invisible Library. Like when and how did that get started?
Yeah, so there was a period a few years back where actually there were two rappers in Nashville that had just really impressed me. One of them was Kid Dead, and the other one was Brandon Brains.
Yeah.
And I did what a lot of people do, and I just said, me and these two guys have such a unity that we can take over the world together. And, we basically, I put a little plan together to start a label and tried to take over the world with them. We've done some cool things, and we still do some cool things. I have to, be careful not to spread myself too thin or pour too much money into it, I guess. But yeah, we did put out Kid Dead's Rap and Destroy, which was, I feel really good about that record. And then, and then Brandon's record as well.
What was his called again?
His was called Snake Hands.
Yeah. I played with him a few times. So.
Yeah, he's great. That's how we know you, isn't it? Was through Brandon, right?
I can't remember if I met him or Ross first.
Okay, yeah.
One of those two.
But yeah, those two guys are great. Admire him a lot. Brandon has since moved out to Phoenix, and now he runs a wrestling federation. So Party Hard Wrestling, pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also put out a record for a band called Cantalouper, their album was called Reproduction, and it's one of the best albums I've ever been involved with. Absolutely love it. So yeah, we've put out a lot of music that I'm very excited about, and my thing as a label is I only take people on if I believe I can help them, and in some cases I can help folks, and in some cases I can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been cool.
That's awesome, man.
I've learned a lot with it.
Yeah, I feel like, and you learn at like twice the speed when you're doing obviously twice as much too. Like.
Right.
But that's cool, man. You what was your most recent project? I feel like the most recent thing that I saw, at least that had the most hype, is like you did something with Chesky. That 7-inch that I picked up today?
Yeah, the 7-inch.
Is that somewhat dated?
That's pretty dated, yeah. So here's what happened with that was I recorded... So we have a song called Big Beards. It was on my 2011 release.
Oh, wow.
Our Team Is Gonna Win. So I did a remake of it where I brought in another guy to rap. We still sampled Chesky on the chorus.
Okay.
But I had another guy, this songwriter... this blues artist named Sean Michelle, who's absolutely incredible and has one of the most impressive beards you'll ever see. So we decided to do a remake of it and do kind of a split 7-inch together. So the B-side is like where I actually sample one of his songs and rap over it. So we just wanted to do something together for a long time, and we finally did it. And then it got shelved for a little while as we were trying to figure out how to pay for it. And well, now it's out. And, made some 7-inches, put it out as a single. So I think that's the official latest thing I've put out. But I put out a lot of music at once. A couple of years ago, I did a second volume of our cassette tape, Coca-Cola Classic, which is all horror movie samples of me rapping on it. You got volume 1. Okay. Volume 2 is sold out. So
I did?
Yeah. Or no, you didn't. You got the 7-inch.
Yeah.
Somebody else bought the tape.
Okay.
And then I released the vinyl of We're Probably Gonna Make It in This World After All. And then I did an EP called Failing is Fun. So I basically released like 3 things at once. So right now, I'm waiting on
3 different formats too, though, right?
Yeah, different formats too. So right now I'm waiting on vinyl to come in for State Parks. I've got that in the burner, and then I've got another volume of Coca-Cola that I'm working on still, and I've got a full-length Spoken Nerd record that's that I'm working very fervently on, and it's almost ready, but it won't be out till next year.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, pretty excited about it.
That's sick. You tour often, right? So it's like moving
fairly often, yes.
Because like to get a vinyl, you have to play a lot of shows if you really want to move it. And there's
definitely,
yeah.
Yeah, I tour usually. I do around 70 to 80 shows a year.
Yeah.
Which I'd like to move that number up a little bit, but I feel like that's pretty good for an independent artist.
Yeah. And do you have a day job?
I do. I work for Whole Foods.
Oh, cool. Are they like pretty cool with like?
Yeah.
Or do they only want to hire people that look like they're in bands, or?
Right. Yeah. They only hire people with big beards and that look like they're in bands. Yeah. Yeah. Whole Foods has been, well. First of all, they give us a lot of paid time off.
Really?
So, maybe not so much in the beginning, but as long as I've been there, I get a lot.
That's awesome.
So I'm able to tour and I'm not like necessarily like losing a ton of money every time I'm doing it.
Yeah, which is
pretty much
awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that's also limited, and then it also limits like, hey, if I want to go on a nice vacation like normal people do,
yeah,
I can't exactly.
You got that girlfriend too that doesn't want to go to horror movies with you.
Yeah. And to her credit, she will watch some horror movies with me. Actually, she probably stays awake through more than I do because I always fall asleep.
That's funny, man. Is it tough touring and playing like 70 to 80 shows a year? And like, I've never been in the position where I'm like, the most I've played in a year while holding jobs is like 50 shows a year.
Yeah.
But that wasn't during a relationship, you know? Is it hard to find that balance for you? Is she pretty understanding?
Yeah, man.
Because this is like clearly a lifestyle for you.
Definitely. She's actually really amazing. I mean, she has like gotten behind me with a lot of stuff. She helps me with like merch stuff.
Oh,
and basically like comes behind me and says, hey, this is something, with so many things she has ideas for improvements and how to make it viable, because one thing that kind of changes how you do things once you're in a relationship is like a serious relationship is, okay, I can't go out and just totally fail.
Yeah.
Like I could do that before and feel kind of okay about it, but now I feel a little more like, okay, this has to kind of make some sense.
Yeah.
Which it's actually really good for me for accountability as an artist, because it helps me it helps me recognize how I can improve. And like one thing I'm doing now is like I'm doing analytics on everything. Like I'm keeping records on.
I saw you tonight keeping records.
Yeah, so there's records that I'm keeping on all kinds of different things about the shows.
Yeah.
And so the idea is to facilitate growth and also to recognize patterns. Like if every time I'm playing in a city, we're not getting the turnout that we want in that particular city, I'm going to see what I'm doing wrong there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like, oh, I'm playing with Cody every time. No wonder no one's coming out.
Right. No, I mean, it can be a number of things, but, we're definitely getting pretty proactive with it. I mean, it's just kind of treating it
smart, man.
like you would any business, that you're passionate about. So.
Yeah. That's cool. And it's like whenever it's something you're passionate about, it's like a cool thing to learn and see that.
Absolutely.
As opposed to just like, I'm just going to like play these rap shows aimlessly and like whatever happens. It's like, no, I want to improve. That's cool. And I feel like that's cool too. Like rapping is such like a solo thing. You could, you can make a record by yourself.
Right.
I'm sure if you have like your partner or someone you're close with and that wants to give you feedback too, I'm sure that's great,
Definitely.
To like, without forming a full-on band, have like some feedback you can trust.
Definitely. Yeah, on the creative end of it, I work with a producer pretty closely now.
Okay.
Cool. I'm working with a guy. I just started working with him over the last year. His name's Ryan Griffin.
Yeah.
And he's been pretty incredible. Like, I never really saw myself as like a guy that would benefit from a co-writer on an album like so much, but he's actually co-written several songs with me on the new record.
That's
like
awesome.
But not so much that you're gonna listen to it and it's not gonna feel like me. I feel like it's even more so.
People, it's not to interrupt, but like I was listening to like some skateboarding podcasts and they were talking about like how when you skate with people, like your friends know your tricks better than you do.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, you should do this. This is fitting for you at this spot. And it's like the same thing. I'm sure this dude that's like co-writing for you is like, this is your voice. Like,
yeah. Yeah, it's cool. Because he's come up with a couple, like, especially musical parts that were like, like changes in songs that were definitely not the change I would have made, like those weren't my go-tos, but yeah, the way he has come up with things, it's like, wow, this gives the album like a very different vibe.
Yeah.
In a very good way,
Cool. That's awesome, man.
So yeah, I'm very excited about the new thing and like when it drops.
Griffin?
Ryan Griffin is his name. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we covered some stuff in here. It's pretty late. I'm an early bird, man. I go to bed at like 11:30, so I'm dying
same
right
here.
now. Yeah.
Except for when I'm on tour.
Yeah. But do you have like anything you'd like to end this on? Like, this might come out at the end of this month or next month.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna be out on tour in October with Bashful Hips around the Colorado area and also throughout the Midwest. So keep on a lookout on our website, spokennerd.org, or invisiblelibraryrecords.com. And I'd love to see more people at the shows always, and love to make new friends. So feel free to holler at me.
Cool, man.
I guess that's about all I got.
Hey, it's a good ending. Word, dude. I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you having me on.
I got the beats on my iPod, belly like Buddha, but I'm looking kinda like God. And I gotta stay humble. If life is solid, I'm the feta cheese crumbles. And all the squares ask what's wrong with me. I send chills up their spine like Catholic iconography. But I'm not here to pass a sacrament. Leader of the wolf pack like a Hugh Jackman flick. They call me Zach Galifianakis. They call me the name of every bearded actor. I'm sexier than Kenny Chesney's tractor. Keeping it dapper, a mini band full of rappers. My hairstylist thinks I'm something weird. Number 2 fade, don't touch the beard. All the ladies burst into tears when my hot girlfriend walks up and hands me a beer.
I have a big beard and some big dreams. Kids go to college if you wanna rap as good as me. I know some big ones, I'm not afraid to spit. I used to have a fear of hurdles but got over it. I have a big beard and some big dreams. Kids go to college if you wanna rap as good as me. I know some big ones, I'm not afraid to spit. I used to have a fear of hurdles but got over it.
Everyone knows 1 + 2 = 3. My beard hangs so low like Spanish moss from a cypress tree. That's how I grow, born in the big easy. My dream big, catching things when my face gets sneezy. No need to boast, cause you know my beard must be legit. When I roll up in the Middle East, they think that I'm the terrorist. Terrorist, don't be scared of this. My face posted on the enemy's most wanted list. You on the list? Our questions frequently asked of me. How long that take to grow? You ever heard of that dynasty? Please, dynasty. My face hasn't seen a razor since before 2003. I look rougher than Jeremiah Johnson. Hipster mustache, you death wish like Charles Bronson. It ain't coming off. My beard's all the rage. Even American Idol couldn't get me to shade.
I have a big beard and some big dreams. Kids go to college if you wanna rap as good as me. I know some big ones, I'm not afraid to spit. I used to have a fear of hurdles but got over it. I have a big beard and some big dreams. Kids go to college if you wanna rap as good as me. I know some big ones, I'm not afraid to spit. I used to have a fear of hurdles but got over it.